Good afternoon, everybody. We've got the majority of the people on the call today, so we want to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this webinar today. My name is Billy Pomerico, and I manage the reseller and enterprise side of our business here at Contactology. I also have my colleague Ben Nylet, who's our marketing director of marketing here at Contactology, joining me on the call.
Hey, everybody.
So I want to go ahead and get us kicked off today, and then Ben's going to be walking us through a short presentation on why we've decided to build out mobile templates, the mobile templates feature, what's changing as part of this mobile templates release, plus a live demo of our mobile templates feature, as well as some of the other changes that we're making to our application that are designed to help improve the campaign creation workflow. So first of all, mark your calendars because we will be releasing this mobile templates feature the morning of Thursday, February 13th. And before we start, I want to just give a quick background on why we're doing this webinar. As our white label and technology integrator reseller partners, we recognize that you are ostensibly offering your customers your own email marketing application with your branding, your feature set, and in some cases even your own custom user interface. Your customers don't know that we're here. And because of that, we can't promote these feature releases to our customers, or to your customers, the same way we promote them to our direct customers. So we do webinars like this one in advance of big feature releases to give you the information that you need to be able to easily and effectively communicate the benefits of these new features to your customers. And I want to quickly call out the fact that while this webinar has been promoted as a reseller webinar, and the audience today is primarily resellers, we did invite our enterprise customers to attend too because we thought they'd get some benefit from this and appreciate the sneak peek into the feature and be able to prep their sub-account users on the coming changes as well. So a couple quick housekeeping items before we start. First, we want to try to make sure we leave enough time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions that might come up. So we'll have everyone on mute during the beginning of the webinar, and then any questions that you have, please submit them to us through the question box in GoToWebinar, and we'll cover as many as we can when we're finished. And also, there's a recording of this webinar that's going to be made available on demand. So we're going to send out a follow-up email to everybody, and that's going to contain links to that recording plus some of the other resources that we're going to mention on the call today. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Ben, and Ben is going to walk us through a short PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks a lot, Billy. As Billy mentioned, my name is Ben Nylet. I am the marketing director here at Contactology. I know that no one joined the webinar today to watch a PowerPoint, so I promise I'm going to move through this quickly and get us to the demo, which is what we all want to see. I can speak on behalf of everyone here at the company. We're very excited about this feature and really looking forward to seeing emails go out using the new mobile templates. But just some background on why we're doing this and sort of the landscape to kind of frame what this feature is all about is what I will go through now. You know, this is data, and all of this information, this PowerPoint, will be made available to you so you can use it to do your own marketing, do your own talking points, however you want to put it to use. We'll make that available. This is data from Litmus. Many of you know powers our inbox analysis. They do a really good job of kind of tracking some of the trends that are happening out there. And in 2013, you can see opens globally in mobile email went from 42% of all to 51% of all. So by the end of last year, literally half plus of every email being opened was being opened on a mobile device. So it is clear the way things are trending now. Just another look kind of at the same type of information. Last year there were 897 million people in the world who look at email on smartphones. By 2017, that's going to be 1.8 billion or so. That is quite a jump, and that line's probably only going to continue to go up. You know, mobile has become really a marketing must. These are some stats here pulled from various research reports around the web. The information at the top from Blue Hornet, you know, 70% of consumers are immediately deleting emails that don't display correctly on mobile devices. That information is a year old. I would wager that it's actually gone up since then. The middle point kind of emphasizes how behind the curve most marketers are. So we believe going responsive now, offering mobile templates now, will help us all get ahead of the curve. And then finally from Adobe, email on mobile platforms outperforms other channels on mobile devices. So whether it's a Facebook or some sort of mobile push ad, email is outperforming those other channels in terms of influencing a consumer's decision to purchase, which is, after all, what all this email marketing is about. The problem with mobile, as we all know from having mobile phones, is the screen is tiny. The major players in the space, Apple's iOS platforms and the various Android devices, have taken two approaches. Neither one is a perfect solution. Sort of simply put, Apple scales down the email so that you can see the whole thing. The problem with that is things get smaller and there's no way to read that email really unless you have super, super great eyes without pinching and zooming and all that stuff. Android just says have fun and scroll horizontal as much as you'd like. So whatever your design looks like, an Android user is going to see the upper left corner of it. Not an ideal solution in either case. That's where responsive design comes in. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the concept, but for those who aren't, responsive design, it makes use of an @media query to allow the code behind the email to become aware of the size of the screen. That's a fancy way of saying if the screen is small, then responsive design allows us to kick in a special style sheet that is just for mobile. So it allows you to really do whatever you want, but in this case, what we're going to be seeing is taking complicated 2- and 3-column layouts, converting them into something that's very, very mobile friendly. We'll take a deeper look at our design principles in just a second. And so that brings us to our mobile templates feature. Waiting for the slide to catch up. There we are. Here's a quick snapshot from the interface. We're going to be offering 10 new mobile optimized or responsive templates. We're not taking anything away. These are in addition to, so all the classic templates are going to remain available. You will see very shortly a brand new interface for creating these mobile specific style sheets. You still don't have to know code to make this work. We're going to offer, as you can see here in the screenshot, a mobile preview on Android and iPhone for every single campaign coming through the template controller. You'll see that inbox analysis now has its own tab in this workflow. This is worth mentioning for those of you who do not offer inbox analysis. That won't affect you. It's still easy to disable that and keep it disabled using the feature control in the admin. Another change that goes along with this that's pretty exciting for us is the message quality score is no longer hidden or no longer has to stay on the preview or proofing page. MQS is now going to be a little bit more persistent so that you'll see throughout the campaign creation process any issues or deductions you're getting for various things. And then finally, you'll see that we've sort of made MQS errors a little bit easier to fix. We're going to make it easy to find the specific place where you can make a change on that. I'm not going to read the next slide because that's what everyone hates about PowerPoint when you throw a slide up and read it. I will just say that generally our mobile design principles are going to be converting all of our templates to a single column. Studies show that people on smartphones have no problem whatsoever scrolling with their thumb. That's not something you would do on a desktop design, but for the smartphone, it's how smartphones work. And user studies show that it's really fine. People get that. Generally, the rest of the changes we make are for our mobile defaults are all made with the notion of making text easier to read, making increasing the space between elements or between lines of text, giving you the ability to control the size of links. All of these are really sort of done with the idea of how can we make an email on a mobile device more user-friendly, improve user experience, make it easier to get your message across. And I should mention specifically, we're going to automatically scale images down so that they fit. And the last thing I'll run through before we get on to the demo is just some points about the release that's coming. Anything you have that's currently saved as a custom template will not automatically become responsive. You're going to have to convert that to a responsive template. That we won't take anything away from your accounts, but if you have a custom template saved, you'll have to go back. Allow you to do your own custom responsive code. You still have access to the HTML and CSS of the templates. Nothing's changed there. We'll see how this works, but the mobile preview where you see the iPhone and the Android will work even if you're not using responsive code, so you're always going to see those mobile previews now. And just broadly, we'll have full release notes on what works with what, but what we found in our testing is that support for Gmail's mobile apps, email being read on actual Gmail apps, is spotty. That's just Gmail. There's only so much we can do to tell Google to support CSS. We've tried, but haven't been successful yet. All right, so on to the demo, which is more interesting than slides. I've got a test build here. This is not live, but this is pretty much what the feature is going to look like when you see it on February 13th. I'm just going to start by creating a campaign. And I apologize, go to webinars. Got a little bit of a delay, so I'll try not to go too fast ahead of where the screen is. I'm going to jump to the Content tab. Everything on Recipients and Details is the same. And I'm going to choose a template. And the first thing you'll notice is as it pulls up a template, my screen's moving a lot faster than GoToWebinar, sorry about that, is right here in the first box we have our mobile optimized templates. We've moved those to the front, to the top of the list. You'll see in the preview that from here they don't look that much different than the original templates, but they are, and we'll see that in just a second. So I'm going to select a responsive mobile optimized template. And here we go. So far, things should look not too different than what you're used to seeing. We've added a little bit of a little color here to the accordion menu on the right. I think it makes it pop a little more. Not much different there. Obviously, the biggest change is this drop-down menu here. When you select mobile, you're going to now see the responsive version of this template. And this accordion menu down the right rail here are specifically for your mobile styles. In other words, if you change something on this page, it will not change it on the desktop page. We've chosen most of your text options, your headline, your subtitles, your body text, and then also you have the ability to specifically change the size of links. This was something we added because, on a mobile phone, if you have multiple links in a single paragraph, and you're using your finger to select them, I don't know about you, but I tend to fat finger these things and I click the wrong link. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to make those bigger. We've also added, and I'm going to go back to the desktop to make this point, we've added a new class of link here. I'm hovering over it. I'm sorry, I'm ahead of the screen again. We've added a new class of link that we're calling the action link. I'm hovering over one now. And these are really intended to be kind of a primary call to action for a particular article in a newsletter or even for a campaign. We've made these, they have their own place here on the right side accordion menu for the desktop view, where you can customize the particulars, the colors, and the font and the size and things like that. And when you switch to mobile, we've actually added styles to make the action link look more like a button. So we've added a background to it. We've added some rounded corners to that background, and I'm hovering over the various styles now so you can kind of see how you might change those. Here's where you affect the button color. You can increase or decrease the corner radius of that button, change the size or the color of that link. So when this action link appears in a mobile device, it will it will look to subscribers more like a button than just a text link. The idea there, obviously, is we anticipate that being kind of an important call to action in a campaign, and we're giving you the option to make it really stand out and get those clicks. I've clicked on it here. You can see it's got a link-only interface, so we're really kind of limiting the content that can go in. And if you don't want it, maybe not everything needs that primary call to action. It's very simple to delete. I'm hovering over the delete now. You can just get rid of it. You don't need to use it. But we think having the option to turn those links into buttons is a pretty cool thing to do. So to sort of demonstrate what's cool about the responsive here, I'm going to change something on the mobile, and then we'll see that it changes on mobile but not on the desktop. So I'm going to increase the size of those headlines. You see I am making them much larger. I'm going up to 30 pixels on those headlines, and they're much larger now. And then when I switch back to the webmail version, which I will directly, you can see that they haven't increased in size. So that change I made really just affects the mobile version. Those are the changes for that interface. I'm going to save it now. And move over to our new preview tab. It's replacing the proofing tab, which is what we had before. And you'll see some of the differences on it. So far, this should be somewhat familiar. Here's our desktop view. Scrolling down, you can see that we can look at our campaign. The broken image there is just because this is a testing environment. This remains from the old build where you can see how this is going to look in various desktop clients, so nothing too different there. I'm going to go ahead and click on mobile now. This is new and we think pretty exciting. You can see how this campaign is going to render in both iPhone and Android. These are scrollable, so you can go all the way down. And really gives you, and as I said earlier, this is going to be available for all campaigns, whether they're responsive or not, but gives you that sort of gut check on what is my campaign going to look like on a mobile device. As we saw in the short PowerPoint, we are living in a mobile device world, and we really think it's important to make that information available regardless of what kind of email you're sending. The other major change for the interface, as I mentioned earlier, is the message quality score. You can see that it's now up here in the sort of upper right section of the screen. And now that I've hit the preview, this MQS would appear for any tab I want to look at in the campaign creation process. So if I went to details, this information would still be here now that we've got a score for this campaign. When I click the drop down on message quality score, you can see that I've got two problems with this campaign. I haven't created a text-only version, and I don't have a subject line. One of the things we've done that I think is a really nice upgrade is we've added some links to that. We're using plain text to explain the problem, and when I click on change this here under the text-only version, the interface is going to take me to the very page I need to be on to fix that problem. Here I am on the text content section, and all I have to do, of course, is hit the update text version, and now I have a text version of this campaign. And you can see that as soon as I do that, the message quality score is updating itself, and I no longer have that deduction for not having a text version. And the same would happen if I clicked and added a subject line to the campaign. I would get that link to do it, and I could fix that problem really easily. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention before we sort of turn it over to whatever questions you might have is you'll notice that the inbox analysis has its own tab in the workflow. Previously, if you weren't aware, it was located on the proofing tab. It was kind of a tab under a tab, and it was a little bit buried. We figure that it's a good time as any, now that we're going to mobile templates, to bring it out, give it its own place, and make it a little bit easier for people to find it. And here it is, just as it always has been. So that's the ground I wanted to cover, and I wanted to leave as much time as we could for your questions. So I'm going to stop talking and see if you have any.
Thanks, Ben. That was a great demo and obviously some great information presented in those slides. I want to just reiterate a couple things, and Ben touched on these when he was going through his presentation. But first of all, inbox analysis tests, if you have chosen to turn those off with sub-account feature control, that tab that you just saw will not display in your client's accounts. So there's no need to worry about that. Also, just a quick comment on MQS score. Ben took you through and showed you how we've moved MQS score out of the proofing tab and up above the tabbed interface, and how now the responses it's giving you, the feedback it's giving you, are cleaned up and a lot less cryptic than they were before. And so I just want to emphasize that that's something we're really excited about, because MQS is a core differentiator for us. I think it provides a lot of valuable real world type feedback on how your email is going to perform. And so having that being cleaned up and a little easier to understand, and obviously giving you some feedback as you're going through the campaign creation workflow is I think very valuable information. So we've got a couple questions here that I want to cover. If you've got any other questions, please feel free to keep them coming. You can plug them into the questions box in GoToWebinar. First question is, will this affect any custom templates I have or my sub-accounts have stored right now? The answer to that question is no. Any custom templates that you've added and the existing regular templates along with publisher templates will not change at all. Obviously we're adding new templates to those accounts automatically, but there will be no changes to your existing custom templates. And it's important for me to point out as well that your custom templates will not automatically be responsive. That is something that you could go back and add the proper CSS for, but right out of the gate, don't expect any custom templates that you have to be responsively designed.
Billy, another question we had come in, kind of looking for, I think, a competitive analysis. The question was, which ESPs already have responsive templates in place? I can't pretend to give encyclopedic lists, but I think MailChimp has them. I believe Campaign Monitor does. I'm not aware of any that have offered their full slate of templates the way we have. It's something that ESPs are going to, but I don't think it's become a standard feature yet. So we're excited to be getting this out of the door while it's still being adopted industry-wide. I know that's not the exhaustive list of who has them, but there are a few out there that do. The implementations I've seen offer a few templates that are kind of their mobile templates. We've taken all of our templates and made them responsive. So it's a little bit of a different philosophy.
Thanks, Ben. I've got another question here. How will the template controller respond if I'm using a template that isn't built for mobile? I'll just give you a quick idea of how that would work. The template controller responds to definitions in the CSS of your template. There's a style block that's devoted specifically to mobile styling. So if that style block isn't there, then the template controller will not give you the option in that little drop-down menu that we showed you to toggle between the desktop/webmail version and the mobile version. It'll just show the desktop version of the email. And when you move on to the proofing tab, all those different previews we showed you will be there. So even if your template was not designed with responsive in mind, you will still have that preview available on the proofing tab, so you can see what it will look like on those different mobile devices, the iOS and Android. But obviously what you're going to be seeing is sort of the not responsive webmail version of that, where you're going to need to scroll around, and it will not be optimized for those interfaces.
I'm doing it slowly, Billy, but I was trying to demonstrate that while you talked. Here I've got loaded one of our templates that does not have the responsive code. You can see that that drop down is not here. And then when I go to the preview, um, you can see that it is rendering the non-responsive versions in our mobile preview window. So here's the iPhone on the left, shrinking things down. Here's the Android device on the right. I'm happy to scroll left and right. So I'm still getting the preview. And as Billy said, when I go back to the Content tab, I no longer have the mobile dropdown to trigger the responsive interface.
Great. So another question here. Will there be access to resources to put on your own knowledge bases if you have them, where you can direct your customers? And the answer to that is within a couple days, we will have the resources we've been mentioning on this call, along with the recorded webinar and any other follow-up materials. We will make that available to you as soon as we can. Could be as early as the end of the week, might be early next week, but we are working very hard to get those out to you, and then giving you the ability to repurpose those and use them to educate your customers, give them a preview, just as we're giving to you.
And let me add to that, when we send our, I'm going to send you one of us will send you a white label friendly, reseller friendly version of the slide deck, so you can have some of these facts, figures, as well as some of the details of what we've done with the responsive templates. At the end of that, I will have a link to two resources that I found helpful. One is an ebook written by a guy who actually works for Litmus, who's written a short book. I think it's 15 bucks or less. That is a look at modern HTML design. He has a really nice chapter on responsive. So if it's something someone needs some help with, that's a resource. Another link is actually a free resource also from Litmus. They have an online responsive building environment where you can test out some code. Of course, you can also do that with our um, template creator, template editor as well. So hopefully those will help if you have a lot of questions about responsive.
We have a question. Will CSS be provided to make our custom templates responsive? And the answer is not specifically no, but what you could do is you could, I mean, the template HTML that we're providing out of the box for these new mobile optimized templates is certainly available to you. So you can go in and look at the CSS that we've applied to our own templates, and I think it would be fairly easy to copy that and repurpose it for your own templates.
And I've scrolled over here to where one of our responsive templates is. As Billy said, you can sort of see what we've done with our responsive style sheet as I continue to look through all this HTML here. Here it is. Um, you know, there's the mobile responsive section and the associated style sheets with it. So that may, I don't know how, well, the way I do with code is looking at something like this is usually a really good start for me to get my own styles going.
We're just catching up on our questions here, so just
Sorry guys, we've got a long list of questions just reading through it. Um, One question, if your email contains images, do you have to do anything special in your code so that the image becomes responsive? I think the short answer to that is yes. The long answer gets into adding a particular type of image tag and then having that image tag have its own custom CSS. I'm rapidly running out of factual things I can say about that, so I don't want to talk over my head in terms of my own knowledge about how these things work. I know enough code to be really dangerous. So, but I think if you look at our responsive code, you will see some special image tags that scale it down. So it's not necessarily going to require a great deal changes as much as it's writing a CSS section for your image tags.
Now, we're getting quite a few questions on how to update custom templates to mobile, or what would be the best approach for converting existing templates that are not responsive to become responsive. And again, I am certainly not an HTML expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I can say that um, I believe that to convert an existing template to one that is mobile optimized, essentially you're adding additional CSS to that template that that our template controller is going to look for, that's going to be applied to your HTML. And so I don't think in most cases that it's extremely difficult to add that additional CSS. Just making sure, of course, that it's done in a way that our template controller knows what to look for and finds the proper block of CSS to apply to your email HTML. Again, what I would recommend is to go into the application, or actually what we could do is in the follow-up information that we're going to be sending to you, I'd be happy to include a couple examples of the HTML. We may, just as a disclaimer, make a few tweaks to it between now and then, but it would at least give you an idea, something you could look at of how we're setting these up so that maybe you could try to apply the same concept to your own templates.
Another good question here. What, if any, issues occur from using the CSS content block? I assume that question is referring to the responsive code. What issues occur from using that with older email clients? We're in the process of finishing up our release notes on this, and we're going to try to have a good list of anything that's not supporting it. For example, the Gmail app, not the mail app, but just the Gmail specific app for iOS will not render responsive design. Now, the consequence of that is it's just going to render the email the way it always has. It will essentially ignore the responsive code. So the worst case scenario is if the responsive code isn't supported by a particular client, you're going to get what you get today, which is, so there's no risk that anything will be broken as much as it'll either render the responsive and deploy the new design, or it'll render the quote desktop version, which is the full version. That's what happens when a client doesn't support responsive, and some simply will not support it, no matter how hard you try. Sorry, guys, still reading questions. Sorry, a lot to read.
Yeah, not responsively designed. I sort of covered that, but what about the images? Do you know that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so in the example on the screen now with the 600 pixel image, will that image get resized for mobile, or will there be a second image that will serve in its place? That image is resized. What we're talking about here in this case, let me bring up the preview. Here you see a header image that's 600 pixels wide, and I go to the mobile. I'm sorry, I'm using the non-responsive version. On the responsive version, I'd have a single column that would have, well, actually I have an image of it here. Fastest way to get it up. Here, this header image on this picture still has, it's a screenshot, still says 600 pixels wide. That image has actually already been scaled down. Our placeholder image has 600 pixels sort of written on it. So it is a little deceptive possibly, but when users put their own header image that was 600 pixels wide on the mobile version, that will be scaled down. So the image you're looking at says 600. It's actually not. I think it's don't quote me on this, but maybe 320, something to that effect. It does get scaled down quite a bit. The question, we use custom templates pulled by the API, and will the mobile templates be available for this? Billy and I are looking at each other. We have to get back to you on that. We don't know. That's a great question, and I apologize for not having an answer to that. And a good question here, the mobile previews based on app-based emails or emails to open through a mobile web browser, and if so, is there a difference? The mobile previews that you're seeing, and again, what we're try to show what I'm talking about here. This page, um, we've got some notes on that here. I'm highlighted. There's probably no way you can read those, but what you're seeing here will be somewhat influenced by your choice of browser. So if you use Internet Explorer, you're going to see a little more of a Windows Phone flavor. But generally, what you're looking at are what the native mail apps on these platforms. You're looking at what the native mail apps are going to render. So in the case of the iPhone, this is what an iPhone would show if you use the built-in mail app that comes with it, and likewise on Android. I am not qualified to tell you why your choice of browser influences that. I'm sure it has something to do with whether or not a particular browser is based on WebKit, or pretty much anything else I say after that is over my head, so I'm going to stop talking. But I think it has something to do with that. I hope that answers the question. Scanning the list, seeing if we missed any. There's a question about if you send an email client to a webmail browser and then make your browser window really thin, will the responsive design kick in? And I think the answer to that depends on the webmail client. For example, my understanding is that Gmail is going to strip CSS before the mail even gets read. So responsive wouldn't work on Gmail on a web browser, for example. I have not specifically tested this, but the fundamental underlying basis of the question, responsive design is based on screen or window size. I think you're right. If you collapse the window, it would shrink. But the caveat to that is, first of all, I haven't tested it, and second of all, I don't know what various web browsers, web clients will do to the CSS. So for that to work, you'd have to have a web email client that keeps the CSS intact, and a lot of them strip it out to protect their own CSS. So that's a good question, one we'll have to explore before release.